We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. We've had a good run of guests. We had Kristen yesterday. We had Alona. We had Denise. We've had a lot of people. We've had live TikToks on the show, and today we have an old all time favorite is Old Soul. She comes here weekly and talks about stuff. She's a little less emotional today than she was last week, and
Yeah,
I just hate to see you going through some things because sometimes it's a lot to carry on your shoulders.
yeah. I was actually happy to see Alona on the podcast, and I was happy that she opened up about having to step away for a little bit because, like, one of my closest friends, Debbie, huge fan of Eric's. She hasn't been active like on his page and stuff because she had to take a break. What was going through, that's what she's currently going through right now. So I was telling her, don't rush and try to, get back into paying attention. And, if the world gonna end tomorrow, I'll let you know. But right now, just kind of take care of yourself because it can be overwhelming for people.
It is overwhelming for a lot of people, and if you need to take a break, I would definitely take a break. I just read something. It might have been on Blue Side or Substack. Even Aaron Parnas says he's getting a little burnt out.
Yeah,
People always ask me that. Do you get burnt out about this stuff? And I actually don't. But I process this stuff differently than everybody else.
yeah,
Over my life, I've learned how to compartmentalize things, and I don't get emotional. I get irritated or angry or frustrated about things, but I don't really let it affect me that much. I think that's important for me to do that so that I can, give information straight as opposed to an emotional type of thing. But most people aren't weird like that, so you do need to take a break now and again.
yeah. I think it could boil down to your profession too. Like
Yeah.
if you're in psychology, like my daughter is, you kind of have to learn how to do that. And if you're in the medical field, especially in like ERs and things like that, you have to learn how to do that because you being, a wreck in certain situations just doesn't help. And that's
No,
probably
no, it doesn't help.
why those fields because I would be a
Well,
ball of nerves all the time.
when I was trying to explain something, and I'm sorry if this sounds sexist, it's just how I perceive my job as a dad. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
My wife was emotional about stuff and would get frantic about things like a lot of people do.
yeah,
And my father was kind of emotional too. And I felt like as the father in the family, you needed to be stable, you need to be confident, you need to be certain, because then your whole family just falls apart. If dad is fucked up, then everybody's fucked up. Somebody's got to feel confident and keep pushing forward. So I kind of trained myself to do that to keep everybody else sane in the place. There were times I want to go off the deep end too, but I forced myself to being calm, and after a time, then it becomes second nature. So it's just what you do. When I was a traffic reporter, there would be horrible crashes on the freeways, and tragedies and people dying, people burning up in cars. And after that, they would come around and they'd say, "We're going to have a grief counselor coming in. We knew you weren't there," meaning all the people in that room, "but you witnessed it, and it's tough for some people." And
yeah.
so we're going to have this grief counseling session after a particularly a bad traffic accident with a few people dying. Everybody's
Wow.
walking into the room, and my boss is standing there. And as I come to the door, he goes, "You're not coming in here." I, uh, I go, "Why not?" He says, "For whatever reason, this shit doesn't affect you, and they'll think you're crazy. They'll fucking send you home because they're going to think it's weird." And the thing is, I try to separate myself. When I was doing traffic, I was watching it on video screens, so I wasn't on top of it. And I was able to separate myself from that. And that's kind of what happens with the politics too. I know what it is. The anticipation of something bad happening is tough. Then when it happens, it's almost a relief because you can say, "I don't have to worry about it anymore. This is what it is. All we have to do is deal with what's in front of us now." So it's a weird psychology, and I'm probably the weirdest one on the planet for thinking that, but it works to my benefit here.
You can do it for long periods of time. I could do it for short periods of time. I think like that's the
Okay.
difference, especially when it comes to like the wild child. And even in particular, when my daughter was younger, and it would be like certain situations, and I'm like, I know I have to be calm so that your mama bear instincts like kick in and override that. But as soon as you get to the other side of that situation, I was like, lose it. You know what I mean? So I can't hold on to it for long, but I can get through a moment or get through a situation and then lose it afterwards. For me, it's always a red flag when I can't even get through the situation. And that's when I'm like, okay, something's going on. But I
Yeah.
can hold it for a little bit and then, I'm gonna
Well,
go cry.
something else that's helped me too. Um, Having been married for 41 years, you learn how to watch your shit. And, and I have certainly done that. It took a while. It took like 20 years, but I figured it out.
Only 20?
Only 20. I'm a quick learner. I'm a quick learner.
Yeah.
So, we got so much shit going on. We saw what happened with this bill, and I know a lot of people are freaking out about it. This bill that the Republicans put across, I was a little surprised that they voted for it, but they did it in a way where they didn't say Medicaid, they didn't say kids, they didn't talk about all the stuff in it. They tried to couch the issue so they could have
Mhm.
reasonable deniability. Oh, I didn't vote against Medicaid. Yeah, you did, motherfucker. But
Yeah.
I think the Democrats and the media has done a good job saying they're saying this, but this is really where it is. If they're going to take cuts out of what they're saying they're taking cuts of, Medicaid is the only option. Now, 217 Republicans voted for it. And I think that's a watershed moment because that's going to be stuck on them whether this thing passes or not.
Um, it's weird that when it happens, I'm sitting there like, yeah, I kind of knew that was going to happen. To me, it wasn't surprising. To me, it was just sad. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I will give anything for these Republicans to prove me wrong, to show that they have some kind of humanity in them. And it seems like they are just incapable of doing it. So I was expecting for it to pass. I just think that the way that they went about it was the most effed up part about it because they sat there and they voted to take health insurance and food. And if people don't know what CHIP is, but that's like feeding poor children. They
Right.
voted against that to take food from babies, from poor people, and line their own pockets. And they gave that vote. And then they had the nerve to stand on the House floor and pray after they did it.
Right.
I
And
just,
clap.
I think like to me, that's like the worst part. Like if you're gonna piss on my leg, piss on my leg, but don't tell me it's rain. And so when
Yeah.
they do stuff like to me, that was the worst part about it. Like I knew you were gonna do it. You could have just did it and then just walked off like you was Debo and showed your true self because you really don't give a damn. We know that. But for them to sit there and just pray like God told them to do this or whatever the heck it is that they tell themselves, it was just so disgusting the way that they did it. And then on top of that, you see the grandmother before the vote when she was saying, her daughter is like on drugs and on the streets. And she took in four of her grandchildren. I think the oldest one was like 12. And she's working part time, making $8 an hour, taking care of four grandchildren. And she was
Yeah.
saying, please don't do this. Because right now, this is the only way that my grandchildren go to the doctor. This is the only way that I can feed them. Like, this is if this is everything for us. And she stood out there on the steps of the Capitol. They heard her story. We saw it. So, they saw it. And then they turned around and was like, oh, yep, that's a cool story, whatever. But maybe you can tell your 12-year-old to get a job or they
Yeah. They
need to
just,
stop reaching off of the government. And she is on
well,
disability. She's on a fixed income. And for me, that was like the saddest part because my grandmother took in me and my three brothers, four of us.
yeah.
Exact same situation. Exact same situation.
Well,
And
the thing that was weird about it was I thought it wasn't going to pass at first because they came out and they pulled the vote from the floor. But then, of course, the phone calls started and Donald Trump started. And you would think some of these Republicans would have some integrity and some self-respect. Um, they were able to switch one of the voters. He didn't like the bill, but after talking to Donald Trump, he did. And the question is Donald Trump that persuasive? Did he threaten them? I guarantee you he threatened them. He threatens fucking everybody. He's talking to that governor from Maine. If you don't do what I do, we won't send you any money anymore, which was a stupid thing to say on his part. But every time you think the Republicans might do the right thing, they always do the wrong thing. And I wonder if they realize how, historically speaking, and in their future, this is going to reflect very badly on them. Donald Trump won't be around for a while to either threaten them or protect them. And then they're going to have to answer some questions. And there's going to be a lot of wreckage left over from Donald Trump and a lot of pissed off people. I think a lot of these folks have shortened their careers because every time they go into an election, somebody's going to be screaming about, you had all this trouble and this motherfucker voted for it.
I think that they are aware what history is going to say about them. They just don't care. And I do think that they have yet to be held accountable. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, they can do stuff like this. They go around and they argue, like they literally argue against feeding children in school. You're going to get revoted. We're going to put you back up in there. Jim Jordan, he hasn't written a bill since he's been in Congress. Yeah, we're gonna send you back up in there. Marjorie Taylor Greene felt comfortable as people are crying and upset and talking about losing their jobs and saying, that's not a real job. You don't deserve a paycheck. She felt comfortable saying that on national television. Why? Because she know her district is going to vote for her again. So why should she feel shame?
Well, that's the interesting thing. She said, she said flat out that federal employees don't deserve their jobs. They don't deserve their paychecks, which is interesting because she's a federal employee and gets a federal paycheck. Maybe we should do an audit of all members of Congress. They're making $175,000 a year minimum, each of them. We should have an accounting of what each of them do every fucking week. List 5 things that you've accomplished. And I'll guarantee you, if there's a waste in money, it's right there in fucking Congress.
Marjorie Taylor Greene had a caveat. And I don't think, like, when she's talking, she gets under people's nerves, like under their skin, and they're not listening to the words that she's saying. What she was saying is, these are government employees that don't generate a profit or something that she said. So she's validating her job as someone in Congress because she's generating income or revenue for the government or whatever. In her eyes, that's how she is justifying what she's doing. So it's like, you hear what she's saying and you're seeing how gross it is, but at the same time, you get this little crack in the door of how she justifies what she's saying and doing in her head. So for her, I'm in Congress, I'm making these cuts, I'm saving money here and there, I'm kicking lazy people off the system, so I am valid in my job. But if you are a government worker and you're a janitor or anything like that, you know what I mean? Then, you know, you just need to, you don't really deserve that job. Well, I don't care that you're struggling. I think the average government employee only makes like $50K a year. That's it. And then when you look at Marjorie Taylor Greene's bank account, the audit that we need is like, if you are making $175K a year, how do you have $15 million in your bank account? And that's where we need to start tracking going backwards. You know what I mean? Because it's not the salary, it's the explosion of the balance in their bank account. How the heck did this come about? Where did this money come from? And, you know, people are not motivated to check that out. And I just kind of refuse to vote for anybody at this point who's not going to say, if you elect me as president, we're going to start auditing congressmen and women, and we want to hold them accountable for the money and the ill-gotten gains that's in their bank account. Like, I want to hear that from somebody, but that's kind of like taking a back seat to everything else that's going on. So,
thing about working in the government is a nonprofit entity. I've worked in the government before. There has never been any desire to make money. It's to take in the money you make and use it in the most efficient way. And they're trying to say that some things are less efficient than others. And I would say, as members of Congress, there's a lot of inefficiencies in paying these people this much for taking as many vacations as they take, for taking time off, for not showing up to votes. There should be an audit of all of these fucking people. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'd like to ask her, where was the profit in the PPP loan that you got and didn't pay back? Because there was no profit in that. Where is the profit in the monies or the stipends you get when you're out having dinner with colleagues or whatever? They're not saying it's about profit. It's about anything that's not me doesn't count. And that is the
Yeah,
essence of a narcissist, a megalomaniac, a psychopath, or just an absolute dickhead. And we've got our share of them, both on the Republican side and the Democratic side.
yeah. I think that AOC said it best. When the Republicans are saying fraud, waste, and abuse, you can just change that to the American people.
Yeah.
Because anything that serves us, anything that benefits us, any programs that is going to help children, they consider that wasteful. Like, why are we helping children? Like that's wasteful. You know what I mean? So when they
Yeah.
say fraud, waste, and abuse, and they turn around and they cut programs for poor people, and it's still an attack on poor people. And I don't say the middle class, I say the working poor, because most of us are like a paycheck away from being out on the streets, not being able
Right.
to survive this, right? So when they are saying, hey, we're getting rid of fraud, waste, and abuse, and the only programs that they're cutting is to help the people and the most vulnerable people in society, then they're telling you to your face, you are the fraud, waste, and abuse, because that's what we got to get rid of. You know what I mean? And for me, it's horrible to watch. Somebody did tell me to bring up something about government employees because he works for the government, and he sent me a message and he said that there are government employees that's being fired, and they're not being like laid off, or the ones who are being laid off, they're not able to get information so that they could apply for unemployment benefits. So if they lay you off, you got like paperwork and documentation. They might say, hey, we'll send you an email or a letter or whatever. They're not getting anything where they can go to the unemployment office and apply for benefits. They can't do that. The second part, so they're the people who are getting fired, they don't qualify for benefits or whatever. The people who are getting laid off, they do qualify to get unemployment, but they're not getting any paperwork so that they can file for that unemployment. And then the other thing that I didn't know, but I found out, federal employees, if you get fired in a probationary period for performance, you are never going to work in the government again. So they could fire you or they can lay you off, but if they fire you for poor performance, you don't get a job in the government moving forward. So when you see that they're firing all these people for performance, and I'm talking about people, you got out of training on Monday, they fired you on Tuesday, you have yet to have a review, but they're going to fire you for performance. The reason they're firing you for performance is A, they don't have to pay unemployment benefits, and B, once they put that on your record, you can give up any kind of career in the government moving forward. You get fired in your probationary period for performance, that's it. That's a wrap for you. You're not getting hired in the federal government anymore. That's it.
Well,
You can kiss the
yeah,
dream.
yeah, and if you say that you were fired for cause, performance or otherwise, that
Yeah, yeah,
immediately disqualifies you from unemployment. So
yep.
they're
Mm-hmm.
doing that intentionally to screw these
Yes.
people over and save
Mm-hmm.
money. And
Yeah,
this is the thing. They're more than happy to hand over trillions of dollars to the wealthy people who don't pay taxes, who don't need the money, and they're
yeah,
willing to take it off the backs of the working poor and the middle class. And this is something the Democrats have been saying a long time, and Trumplefucks don't listen to it. But maybe when they finally feel it in their own pocketbooks, they'll believe that shit.
yeah,
That's a stretch because we're not talking about bright people, but maybe.
yeah. When I was talking to this guy who is a federal employee, and he was just kind of like breaking it down to me, the way that they are firing these people is like F you three different ways that they're doing
Yeah.
it. We're going to fire you in a way to where you can't get any benefits for this. We're going to fire you in a way if you have a background, because some of these people, if you transfer, you've been in the government for 20 years and you transfer to another department, in that department, you still have to start your probationary period for that department. So your entire background, your resume, your history from decades ago, you are not going to get any unemployment benefits from this at all whatsoever. And then to top that off, your entire background, you get hired based off of your job experience, but now you can't use that experience to get a job because you can't work in the government anymore. So when they're saying that people are afraid of being like fired and laid off, yeah, because they know that they're not going to be able to get a job anytime soon. It's just not going to happen for them. So it's just kind of like, how many times can you screw over one person? And they're doing it in the most cruel way that I could even, once you understand what they're doing and why they're doing it that way, it's not like, oh, they're just doing it sloppily. It's just so cruel that the way that they're doing it is like, I can't fathom doing that to somebody. But
They're
there's a
crippling they're crippling the government too. They're crippling the government too because when this is all done, who's going to want to work for the federal government? When it all dust settles and somebody says, hey, why don't you come work for us? Fuck
yeah,
no. I don't know
yeah,
when you're going to get a wild hair and fucking fire me. I'm not
yeah,
taking that chance. It might have been a good place to work for. It's not anymore.
yeah, yeah. I think that Democrats catch a lot of heat for messaging, and to some extent, I believe it. But I don't understand how we could just say, fix your messaging, fix your messaging, fix your messaging. When you sit there and you say, if you elect Donald Trump, this is going to happen. He's elected, it happens. Okay, he's supposed to cut your benefits. No, he's not. He cut your benefits. It's like, no matter what we say to these people, no matter what we do to these people, that goalpost will move every single time. So you can't message to somebody what they don't want to hear. You know what I mean? So it's not about persuading Trump voters to vote in their best interest. Right now, it's just about people who are not voting or independents who may have, voted for Trump that for one reason or another over Gaza or whatever. You have to target those people because anybody that's like MAGA, consider themselves MAGA, I couldn't even waste my time with anybody like that because they don't care. And you can't message to somebody that they don't care about themselves. They don't care about their children. So if they don't care about themselves or their children, damn well they don't care about this country. That's not going to happen. So I think it's not a messaging issue. I think we just need to be more targeted with our message and who we talk to and stop being so polite about it.
I don't
Yeah.
think it's message. I don't think it's messaging at all. I think it's tone. And I'll give you an example. I gave Kristen this example.
Yeah.
As I watch the people in Congress and how they talk and how it affects things, there's a
Yeah.
lesson to be learned there. AOC can come on strong and she
Yeah.
can say all the things, and she's she's subtle about some things and strong about other things. She's very
Mm-hmm.
appropriate in what she does. And when she does it, the Republicans go after her every fucking time. Jasmine Crockett comes out and calls Marjorie Taylor Greene a bleach blonde, butch body, whatever bitch.
Yeah.
They don't go after her. They
Yeah.
don't call her out because they know they're going to be in for a fucking fight. So maybe the lesson here is to be stronger, be more overt, be more in their face. And that falls in line with the idea of how you deal with a bully. You
Yeah.
don't say, oh, you're being mean and here's why. You say, motherfucker, I'm going to put my foot so far up your ass like Sea Temptation. And that's what it's going to take to get them to think.
Yeah. I think that you could see that what they're doing right now is trying to make they're trying to silence certain voices. You see what they
Yeah.
did with Maxwell Frost, who my daughter has the hugest crush on this guy. But anyway, when he was saying that, Donald Trump, he's a grifter. Elon, they're like stealing money from the government. This is what they're doing. And immediately turn his mic off. We will call the sergeant at arms. Like, what the truth is anytime that we try to say it, they do all this distraction. You got Nancy Mace, that crazy heifer over there screaming or whatever. For me, what I would like to see, because I love that energy, but I would just like to say, I recuse my time. And the last thing that I want to say is it will be a press conference on the steps in front of this Congress so that I can finish what it is that they are trying to silence me on saying. And then immediately go outside in front of the cameras and finish your sentence. That's what I want to see. But I do like the energy there because I know that people are like, oh my God, we're so happy what Jasmine Crockett is saying. We're so happy that Maxwell Frost said that. They're surprised when it happens. But what we have to do is like make that normal. So when Jasmine
Yeah.
Crockett tells Elon Musk to F off, it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like people are surprised because they're not used to Democrats fighting for them. And Democrats need to make it normal that they are going to fight for the American people. Don't be surprised because this is the energy we on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether we're at committee hearing, whether we're on the Breakfast Club, or we're standing outside doing a press conference. This is the energy that we're going to be on. I don't want people to be surprised that Democrats are finally fighting for them. I want that to be normal, to know that they got our backs regardless. You know what I mean?
We've seen people come on and call Elon a dick, and somebody and I can't remember who the representative was, and the reporter says, "Do you think that's appropriate? Do you think that?" And he said, "Well, he is a dick. He's a
Yeah,
dick." And
yeah,
then Tina, U.S. Senator here, Smith, maybe.
yeah,
She called him a dick too, and I like that energy. But you want to hear the absolute irony? Maxwell Frost is in the House saying Donald Trump is a grifter over and over and over again. James Comer getting his thong panties in a fucking bunch and says, I'm going to call the sergeant of arms and we're going to take you out of here. This is
yeah,
all going on. Then, in less than 2 hours later, Donald Trump is in the Oval Office and says, hey, we're going to sell gold cards. We're going to sell citizenships. They're like green cards, except these cost $5 million.
yeah.
Donald Trump proved Maxwell Frost's point, and the Republicans are too dumb to even fucking grasp that.
Um, not only that, but he is fundraising. I don't know what he's fundraising for. I have no idea. But he's fundraising. He is selling fake cabinet positions right now. There's I told you a friend of mine, and I see on the Midas Touch Network too, Ben. He'll show you the emails that Donald Trump sends. Those are no joke. I have somebody who was like literally signed up for his emails on Truth Social. And it's like all the time, every day. Click on this to get your free Trump hat. When you click on it, you only get your hat if you donate X amount of dollars. Hey, would you like to be a part of Trump's cabinet? Enter here, pay your $50. We'll put your name in a raffle, or you get first pick at a cabinet position, but you have to donate $100 first. Like it is insane to me that that is normal for him to just grift, fundraise. I think there was one that came out like yesterday where Trump was saying, hey, there's this attack on Elon Musk because he won't give in to the radical left's woke agenda and they are boycotting Tesla. We have to raise money to help Elon Musk.
Oh,
What? And to me, I look at that and it's like absurd. But you know that those emails will not continuously go out if people were not donating money. And I'm like, for every like one of us who think that this is ridiculous, there's probably 10 people that's like, oh, we can't let the Democrats get away with this, and they're sending over their money.
I,
Guaranteed.
when it comes to, first of all, what's Donald Trump raising money for? He doesn't raise money for campaigns. It's all what Maxwell Frost said. It's a grift. It's ways
Yeah,
to generate income.
yeah,
That's how Donald Trump quantifies anything he does. Did I make a profit? And this is where, when people say we need a businessman in there, the problem with government, it isn't all about profit. There's a little humanity involved. There's a little common sense and decency. And that's where Donald Trump is lacking. He's looking at his scorecard. Did I make money on this deal? This is
yeah,
why he's going into Ukraine and saying, I want to own half of your mineral rights. Now, this is an interesting deal. If you listen to the news yesterday,
Yeah.
The deal's done. He's going to come in and sign it on Friday. That's what Donald Trump and the Trump campaign, Trump administration said. You hear from Zelensky. Zelensky says, I haven't seen the agreement at all. And I don't even know if I'm coming in on Friday. But this is what Donald Trump does. He talks shit. He presumes they're going to do exactly what he wants. And then when they don't, he'll blame them for not being cooperative. And then he'll say, well, then the Russians are going to bomb the piss out of you. Here's the thing, though. I think Russia and Vladimir Putin get a little angry at Donald Trump trying to stick his paws in the Ukraine pond because Putin wants all of it. There's going to be a rift between Putin and Donald Trump, and that will be interesting. You got two big egos thinking they're bigger than the other, and same with Elon. It's not going to end pretty.
I don't think people like know this as much, but the minerals that Ukraine has and that they're safeguarding and holding on to, those minerals are very valuable for like electric batteries. And
Batteries,
so one
computers.
person would need minerals so that they can make electric batteries at en masse. Of course, that's Elon Musk, right? So I don't think that Trump is as invested in Ukraine as he says. I think it's his puppet master more than anything because he needs those minerals for his batteries. Like that's what he needs. So at first it was just like we have to stop this war. We need to get this war to end. Let's get them sitting down together, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden it's we need those minerals, we need those minerals, we need those minerals. And so when I started like reading up and like, what's going on with these freaking minerals? Like, where did this come from? And then I see what the minerals are used for. Oh, okay, yeah, Elon Musk needs those minerals. So that's why all of a sudden Donald Trump is like, you know what? We'll stay out of it, but you need to give Elon Musk his minerals first. You know what I mean? So
I'll take it a step further. There's a reason why they have to do this because Donald Trump, again, fucked up. Yeah. Where do we get most of our minerals to do all these things before? China. And when we put tariffs on China, China said, fuck you, we're not sending you the minerals anymore. And everybody goes, oh, that's going to be a problem. So Donald Trump's trying to fix his own fuck up by making another fuck up. I don't know how this is all going to turn out. I don't think he's getting the minerals, to be honest with you. That would be crazy.
Yeah, he's already draining minerals from China. And that's why like Elon Musk has like one of his biggest plants in China. But when you look at the other countries, I'm like, seriously, look at them. Tesla's sales are down. Like, I think in Europe, it was like 60 something percent the last time I checked. So it's just kind of like, they are boycotting Tesla. And then people like, this is why a lot of people, when you want to hear from certain like companies or whatever, they really don't comment on politics because when you comment on politics, you are choosing a side and how polarized it is right now. That's just not a smart thing to do. But Elon Musk tied himself to Trump. And so because of all the havoc that Trump is reigning all over the world, people are like, they're against Tesla, they're cool, they don't want to have anything to do with that. And he has to figure out another way where he can get his minerals and where he can turn a profit from all the losses that he is taking in other countries, in particular Europe. And a lot of people are the only thing that you could do right now to really, really hurt Musk is to get Trump's butt up out of the Oval Office because he's only existing right now on government contracts in the US. Everywhere else, people was like, no, we good. We don't have nothing to do with Musk. They're putting restrictions on X in other countries. There's all these like leaders sitting around talking about Starlink and all of this stuff. If it was not for the United States government and our handouts to Elon Musk, he would be broke right now. The only thing that's keeping him afloat is government contracts. That's the only thing that's keeping him afloat right now. And we are just sitting back. Yep. Go ahead. Do your thing, boy. Crazy.
God help him if a Democratic president gets in because when that happens, he'll be convictable. He'll be stripped of all his contracts and probably will get deported if he doesn't go to jail because what he's done so far is highly illegal. They're trying to play this game. Is he in charge of Doge? Is he not? Somebody needs to talk to Donald because Donald says he's not in charge of Doge. Yeah, he's in charge of Doge. No, this other lady who didn't even know she was in charge of Doge. They're just trying to protect him because they know what he did was illegal. What they fail to understand is whether he's in charge of Doge or not, he was fucking there. And
Yeah.
that's the crime. Going into Social Security and looking at these things and exposing these things, he can't hide from that. When all is done and Donald Trump keels over for whatever reason and he doesn't look well, um, he's going to be in trouble. I mean, JD Vance will probably protect him for a while. But when this is all said and done, for whatever reason, Elon Musk is going to probably be losing a lot of money. Tesla's going to take a shit. There is just no question about it. And Tesla makes up about 150 to 200 billion of his fortune. So that's a substantial thing.
Yeah. JD Vance is not going to protect Musk. It's not going to happen because JD Vance wants to win a second term, right? Musk is a cancer. Have you seen
Yeah.
his numbers? It's like he's
Yeah.
negative right now.
Yeah.
JD Vance, like I say, get Trump out and Elon Musk goes with him. The reason that he's not being mandated to come into court and testify and give a statement, even if he just went in there to plead the fifth, which any smart attorney would tell him, right? Even if he did that, he's not going to jail. Nothing is going to happen to him because Trump is not the one with immunity. It's Trump and his inner circle. Anybody
Right.
around Trump, there's not a court in America that's going to hold him accountable. It's just not going to happen. Get rid of Trump, you get rid of Elon Musk. Period, point blank. And in all these people, I said this when I was on Will's live the other day, when they're seeing like the FAFO, and it just seems like all of these people are like finding out, they're waking up to the Democrats, blah, blah, blah. I don't feel that way because people are saying Musk had to go. We didn't elect Musk. It's Musk, 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 Musk. But they are not tying Musk to Donald Trump. The Republican Party as like a whole, the voters, they think if you get rid of Elon Musk, everything is going to be all right. Trump is there for the people. It's Musk that's stepping in and doing all this stuff and overstepping. And they just about as confused as who's running the government as anybody else. But they're not understanding that at any moment, Donald Trump could just, he don't even have to sign an executive order. He could just stand in front of a camera and just say, I have fired Elon Musk and I'm shutting down Doge. And he could turn around and walk off. He could do that if he wanted to. But for whatever reason, people are blaming Musk for everything that's wrong in this country. And they are not blaming Donald Trump. That's why I feel like a lot of stuff, like it's not going to go the way that we're going right now because Trump isn't the problem to a lot of these people. Musk is the problem. We've done a good job of making Musk to be a bad guy. The Republican Party has done a great job of making him the fall guy, but somehow Trump is just being unscathed in all of this. It's all on Musk, and we have to figure out a way to turn that on Trump. We just got to figure out a way to do that. Which I don't see how.
Thing about it is Elon Musk is the imminent danger right now, and he needs to be dispatched somehow, getting out of that system. I don't know if you heard him say this. It was kind of telling while he's up there talking in the cabinet session. He, in passing, said that he was getting death threats. Yeah, motherfucker, I bet you're getting some death threats. There's a lot of people suffering because of you, and if they're blaming you, there's some crazy fuckers out there that may try to do something that's a little scary. He should be concerned about that. He better get a couple kids sitting on his shoulder because he's going to need a fucking, he's going to need a shield. As far as it not reflecting on Donald Trump, I disagree a little bit because if you look at the people, the Republicans who are talking, they're saying this is not what they voted for. They're sorry they voted for Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump does pass off a lot of the blame onto Elon Musk, but I do think it's leaking down to him. And once Elon Musk is gone and it doesn't get better, then it'll be all Trump.
I see that. I just don't see as much of that as I see Musk, right? So it's just kind of like when I see a majority of the people pointing their finger at Trump and not Musk, at that point, that's when I'm like, okay, yeah, we ready. Because right now it's just kind of like you have people that just don't vote. So out of the people who are left to vote, you have like maybe 55% of us that's like, Donald Trump is a problem. And then you have the other 45% saying, Elon Musk is the problem. So it leaves us in a situation where we are like battling each other. And like you
Yeah.
said, if we can get Musk off of the stage and let Donald Trump like handle it and they don't have anybody else to blame, then they will wake up. But right now they're not there yet because it's more blame on Musk than it is on Trump. I just kind of want to see more people saying like Musk is a horrible person. Why isn't Trump getting rid of him? Why is Trump allowing Musk to do X, Y, and Z? So I want people to start questioning Trump and trying to ask, why is Trump allowing this to happen? But right now, it's just like too many people blaming everything on Musk. And that's why that fool got to go, because that's the only way Trump from he people see who he is. Right now, Musk is just that shield for him. And, you know, Trump crazy, but he likes Musk being his shield. And he know that's a good spot to be in. Blame it on Musk.
Well,
I'm good.
it was interesting in the cabinet meeting. Cindy, my wife, suggested to me. I was in another room. She goes, "You should come out here." And they're not even looking at Musk or Trump. I said when I looked at that cabinet meeting, it looked like the world's largest clown car with all these inappropriate, underqualified, absolute fucking clowns in there. You got Pete Hegseth probably working off a hangover, Pete
Yeah.
Navarro, Pete Navarro, fresh off of a stint in federal prison, and creepy Steve Miller just looking fucking creepy. I mean, these are all clowns. None of these people are really qualified to do that. And Donald
Yeah.
Trump did say in that meeting, he says, Elon's doing a good job. He's getting a lot of heat, but he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason Elon is there is because Donald Trump has lost a number of steps since his first term. I don't think he can handle it on his own. A good example is when he was talking to Macron, talking to
Yeah.
Kristen about this, when he said something that was blatantly a lie and Macron called him out.
Oh God, yeah.
His face looked like a combination of livid, scared, and just dumb. I never saw his face look like that before, but there was nothing he could do, and it was killing him. He wanted to attack Macron all he could do. And then he tried to show dominance by putting his hand on Macron's knee. And Macron literally put a claw on that fucker, pulled it off. And as
Yeah.
he's pushing it back to Trump, Trump's trying to push it back. It was just silly watching it.
I like what Cindy said because they were not looking at him. Donald Trump was like looking down on his phone. Like, I would
Yeah.
rather be anywhere else in the world than to be here. Because if Donald Trump is not paying attention, his attention span is slow already. So I was
Yeah.
saying to myself, I'm thinking like, well, maybe he's like, playing Tetris or something on his phone. And my honey was like, "Are you kidding me? You think Trump can make it past level one in Tetris? Get the heck out of here."
I
But
got
it's
it.
just kind of like nobody was paying him attention. And he's just standing there. He's saying the craziest stuff ever. However, I will say that when he allows Trump to speak, because Trump is not speaking unless Musk allow him to do that, he's
Right.
not saying anything either. He's selling hats. He's selling gold cards.
What amazes me about Elon Musk is this: he's supposed to be smart. And I listened to what he said. He's got to
Yeah,
be the most inarticulate motherfucker I've ever seen. He can't
yeah,
stay on target. He goes off on tangents. He doesn't
yeah,
explain things completely. He bullshits. He lies. He's a horrible speaker. And if this
yeah.
is your face of your administration, man, you're in fucking trouble.
I think Musk used to be able to kind of like cover it up better. And now he's just so whacked out, whatever it is that he's smoking,
Gotta be.
that he's incapable of like covering it up as much as he used to. A lot of people, like even like back in the day when the left was kind of undecided about Musk, I used to say all the time, "Oh, that's not Tony Stark right there. This is not some boy wonder genius that we are dealing with. This is someone who knows how to take his money and pay people off and buy up companies, and that's what he knows how to do. But he's not creating anything, he's not
No.
manufacturing anything. It's just like he's not. And even when he purchases other people's ideas and other people's projects, he ruins it. That's what him and Trump have in common. Everything they touch, they ruin. That's just what it
Separated
is.
at birth. They're
Yeah,
brothers from another hooker. It's just
I seen you. There's a lot of people don't know there's a database when it comes to Teslas and those ones that like blow up, spontaneous combustion and stuff in the engine. There's a database that keeps track of that. If you look at that database, it is like pages and pages and pages and pages. And this is the person that we are getting ready to lead in control of FAA.
yeah.
Insane. And it's so scary. People need to really look up that database. I'll send you an email. And if anybody asks for it, just forward it to them. It is insane how often this happens. And it's not just America. I think like there's cars that exploded in Belgium and everywhere else. Once Musk came in, started storing his weight around at the FAA, then all of a sudden planes start falling out of the sky and everything else. It's very, very dangerous to allow someone that inarticulate, lacking curiosity, and who is like anti facts, anti science, anti protocols and procedures when you put that person in charge of
Yeah.
air travel. That's very, very dangerous. And I think of Musk and I laugh at him, but sometimes I can't laugh because he is so dangerous. He's so
Yeah.
dangerous.
I was watching some of the shorts on YouTube recently as I was waiting for something to upload, and I came across this video. There's this woman. She's an actress. I don't know who she is, um, uh, and she's in her car, and she goes, "I wanted to see what you guys think of my new paint job," and it zooms out, and she's in a Tesla, and on the side in big letters it says, "Elon sucks." SUX. She goes, "I think it's pretty good."
I saw one where a guy was like in a Tesla and like he had it kind of like in Vegas, you know how you have those marquees with the, different things. And it's like
Yeah.
Elon Musk doing his salute and it says all of this other kind of stuff. And then it says Tesla. And then like the next time it flips over on that marquee on the side of the car, it says like something like worst car in America or something. Like it gives the stats on how often these cars blow up. They're so freaking dangerous. But I was like, you was like, oh my God, this is an Elon Musk stand. But when you sit there and you watch it, it's like, oh yeah, this guy right here he's so dangerous. He's a clown. He's a buffoon, but you gotta take him serious because he's so dangerous and he's running the government. It's just,
Yeah,
it's
it's
crazy.
one of the things I found kind of interesting. I want to see if you see it this way. We've
Yeah.
got this bill. Donald Trump wants this big, beautiful bill um, passed, and he's pushing for it. Now, it's not likely to pass in the Senate. And people say, why do you say that? Well, the Senate already came up with their own bill. Why would they pass this bill if they've already come over with their own bill? They did that because they didn't like the House bill. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But Donald Trump is going to put pressure on and try to sell this stuff. And it's interesting. We've got this March 14th deadline for the budget. And if it isn't figured out or a CR anyway, they're going to shut the government down. And the Democrats are at this point say, fuck it, shut it down. At least it'll stop some of this bullshit. And they say, well, you can't shut it down. And my premise is they're already shutting it down anyway. So what the fuck's the difference if you shut it down? Half these places are already shut down. But here's the interesting thing. Donald Trump came out today and said, you all need to prepare for massive firings on March 13th. That's leverage he's trying to use. That's a threat. That's coercion. You better do what I want to do, or we're going to fire mass firings on March 13th. That's a message to the Republicans. You better do what I told you to do, or I'm going to shut it down and burn the whole fucking thing down. I guarantee you that's what he was trying to do. Whether it'll work or not, I don't know, because the Republicans just cannot unify.
I think they can unify. They just don't unify in any way that's beneficial for us. Um, I, I just try not to scare anybody. So I think when it comes to the bill, it's a wait and see thing.
So I'm guessing you think the bill is going to pass through the House and the Senate,
I do.
and
I
then
do.
what?
Then it passed through the House and the Senate. And
And the
then
people,
we deal with what comes after that. Yeah. I'll say the same thing I said on Will's Live. Whatever we can do, we need to do it. We need to help each other out. We need to be there for each other. If you know a senior who needs a ride since they got rid of telehealth, let your neighbors know these are the days that I'm off. Give me a week in advance so I could be prepared to take you to the doctor that day. Hospitals in these rural areas, they're shutting down. Like I think I saw yesterday, I can't remember which state it was, but anyway, their last ER in the rural area, they shut down the ER and they shut down any inpatient stuff. So they're only seeing outpatients. You might as well just say it's like an urgent care type of situation at this point. And
yeah,
people are having to drive 2 hours if they have an emergency. So if you need to
right,
get to the hospital, you get shot, anything, you got a 2 hour drive. That's what you have to do. So maybe if you live near a rural area and you have like a van or a bus or something like that, just start making posts like, hey, I'm going to come to this rural area on this date and I'm taking people to, their doctor's appointments or whatever. Sign up here and, we'll figure it out. But I think that even though we are the last line of defense and we have a lot on our plate already, we still have to find a way to push ourselves to be there for each other and help each other out. And I think for me, instead of asking, are they going to do it or not, I'm prepared for them to do it and put stuff in place to look out for the people around me. And I think we all should do that. And then, worst case scenario, they don't pass it. It didn't hurt nobody. You're helping your neighbors
uh,
anyway.
no, I mean we should all be doing that anyway, and I think more and more people will do it, whether they pass this bill or not. There's enough draconian shit happening that people are going to need help anyway.
Yeah.
But do you think, say they pass this bill through the
Yeah.
House and the Senate?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, if they pass it through the Senate, it's not going to be the bill the way it stands now, because the Senate's not going to go into this without negotiating something that they feel more comfortable with. Whether, I mean, it's not likely to be good, but it will maybe be better than what the House is doing. But beyond that, do you think that's what has to happen? The, the worst has to happen. Medicare gets cut, kids' food gets cut, veterans get cut, uh, and the burning starts. Do you think that's what has to happen before people wake up and decide to make a change?
Unfortunately, yeah. I
Okay.
do think though that there's like something that's not being mentioned in the bill that the Senate is aware of and care about. So the House, they are aware of the ripple effect. They just don't care. However, with the Senate, they are aware, and I believe that they do care. Like they understand the gravity of that, even if it's not coming from a genuine place of I can't do this to my constituents, I can't do this to America, I can't see that many homeless people on the street.
Yeah.
It's coming to like, hey, I got to reelect. So it doesn't matter what the motive is, but I do think that they care that um, the amount of cuts, people are talking about Medicaid and food assistance more than they are, but they are still going to come up short. So even if they make these cuts to Medicaid and CHIP, they're still going to be short. And then that extra part, it has to like come out of like Social Security. And I think that even though it's a small amount that'll come out of Social Security, I think that that may be the one thing that prevents the Senate from pushing it through. That may be the one thing that will stop them from doing it. Or so if they pass it and they'll say, hey, we need to make the cuts to a way where it doesn't hit Social Security, but we'll pass the rest of it. That might be an adjustment that they make to that, is they'll be like, that might be just a little bit too far for them to do. So I think if they do go against it, that would be the reason why they would go against it. But huge cuts to Medicaid and CHIP, I don't think that the Senate has any worries about children being hungry at all whatsoever. It's primarily the people in the Senate that is pushing the child labor laws to be lifted and to send anybody like 10 and over you can find a job after school. That messaging is primarily coming up out of the Senate. So I
Yeah.
think that the food assistance, they don't care about. Medicaid, they don't care about. But I think that they will draw that line when it comes to Social Security, and that'll be our saving grace. But it's possible that for them, they just swing for it. That's possible too. So we'll have to see what happens.
Well, it's an old story. It's real easy to put upon the poor, the uh, the immigrants, people of
Yeah,
color. This is part and parcel to how they do business. I think that the important thing when you talk about messaging with Democrats, and I talk about getting stronger and getting people's face, if they pass anything like this, where it cuts any kind of the Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, if it cuts anything like that, the Democrats have to be up there every day spewing names, talking about what they've done, and the people who are suffering know exactly where this came from. If you want to talk about messaging, to be honest with you, not even thinking about who it hurts, say that it doesn't hurt anybody. This is a gift to the Democrats in terms of messaging. You
yeah,
did this. You hurt these people. You took money from Medicaid and do it all day, every day. I know I'm going to do that. I'm going to go
yeah,
down the list of names on the Democratic Party. Even at this point, even though the bill's not passed, all of you voted for cutting Medicaid, healthcare, uh, veterans, and kids. You did that. You
yeah.
can't ever deny it, and you can't ever come back from it. And as things crash around them and people start suffering, people are going to be more concerned about this shit when
Yeah.
they're made to suffer.
You're going to be screaming. I'm going to be screaming. I got an 11 o'clock flight after this, so I'm ready to go and scream. But I think that for me, like people don't know, like Wild Child, like she's not adopted. Like she's ours, but she's not adopted.
Right.
And so she is like, we are just like legal guardians of her, right? But legal guardians is not an adoption. So her, she still has her Medicaid, and then she also gets EBT as well, right? Which it used to be $200 a month, but they cut it down to 150. But whatever. And then also you got to think about it. Grammy is on Social Security and Medicare.
Okay.
And I look at them and I'm like, oh yeah, they're gonna be good. We're gonna make sure that they are good. But I always feel like I have to remind myself that that's not everybody's situation, because there's a
No.
child, millions of children out there that's wards of the state, who parents are not taking care of them, who are like the woman that was standing on the Capitol. They are standing with a grandmother on a fixed income. And if they don't have Medicaid and if they don't have those food stamps, these children are going to go hungry. They're not going to be able to eat. Either that, or I can guarantee you what's going to happen. The grandmother who's working part time for $8 an hour, she's going to have to go full time, and probably full time and a half of another job. So she might be working one and a half, possibly two jobs, because she's not going to allow those children to be hungry. And then the only way that you can get benefits that's not tied to your employment is through the government. If they cut that out, you have to be full time in order to get benefits. Most companies, if you're part time, you don't even qualify for benefits. So you're going to take that grandmother out of the home of four children who are already vulnerable with no parents. And then she's going to be working her job and a half. They are going to be latchkey kids going to school. The older one have to come home and look after the young ones so the grandmother can do what it is that she needs to do. And you have to think about the Republican Party are completely okay with that. Not only are they okay with it, but the voters are okay with it as well. Until it hits them, hey, I know you took in your grandkids, but then nobody asked you to do that. You
Yeah.
working $8 an hour part time, maybe you need to work a full time job. But part time, you're just lazy. You're just mooching off of the government. Or you're on disability, where you walking, you don't look disabled to me. They say stuff like that. If you are not
I
on
know.
crutches, if you are not in a wheelchair, they think that you are pretending to be disabled. Even if you have mental health issues, that's not a disability to them. They don't think that that's an excuse for you not to be able to get up and like literally work two, three jobs to pay your bills. And it's not elected Republicans. These are the people that vote for them. They really do think that if you are getting any kind of assistance, you are lazy. They do not care until it hits them. They do not care, period. They don't.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind, over and above these cuts and cutting of funding for Medicaid or whatever they're doing, those tariffs will come in effect in March 1st, is it? I think it's March 1st. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden prices are going to go through the roof. So not only will they not be helped, but buying anything is going to be crazy expensive. And this is
Yeah.
going to impact everybody in the country. People obviously are concerned about their pocketbooks. They showed us that on November 5th. Well, what's
Yeah.
going to happen when everything is too expensive? Not only are these people not going to get the help, but the regular people who do have jobs are going to be much poorer because of the efforts of Donald Trump. This is all got to take its toll on the Republican Party. I mean, they're doing everything wrong for the upcoming election. Now, I talked to Kristen, and Kristen said it won't be a fair election in 2026. And I kind of disagree with her, but she said, they've already figured out how to game the system and they've got software and all this stuff. And I don't know if all of that is true or not. She's done more research on it than I have. Um, but if the elections aren't an issue, if they don't have to worry about the elections, what's left with this country? What's left for the people of this country to fight back? Unfortunately, that just leaves violence. And
Yeah.
don't be surprised if it comes to that extent when people suffer as much as they're going to be made to suffer.
Yeah. I think that, when you ask the question, is that what has to happen? My answer to that question is yes. Um, and I know how jacked up this sounds because I don't even want to freaking say it. But the typically when stuff like this happens, it takes a minute for people to feel it. And
Yeah.
so it's just kind of like, I need for them to hurry up, like mess it up more quickly, because we need people to feel it before the special elections, if you know what I mean. So it's just kind of like,
Right.
yeah, they're going to feel it, but I don't want them to feel it in 4 months. I don't want them to feel it in 6 months. I want them to feel it right now. We got special elections that's coming up. And if this is the only thing that's going to motivate them to vote for themselves and to vote for their children in their communities, if we got to wait for them to feel it first, we behind the ball. So sometimes I look at Donald Trump and Elon Musk and be like, you are so incompetent. Like, make people feel it right now. But I do know that sometimes with these programs, when they start slashing and cutting, it takes a minute for people to feel that. And for
Uh,
me, looking at the special elections, it's just like they're not feeling it yet. So it's kind of like a 50-50 thing when it comes to what's going to happen. But it's going to be like, we got a long road to go if we got to deal with this crap for 4 years. But my combat for people who are saying that the elections is rigged, is fixed, blah, 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 Elon Musk, Donald Trump. If that election was fixed, do you really think he would have only won by like a
yeah.
percentage?
Yeah.
No, he would
There's
have
something to
blew
be
it
said.
out the water. He would have won all 50 states. They would have went hard with it.
Yeah.
The
I
fact
agree
that
with you.
the fact that Elon Musk was able to put that much money into the election, give away $1 million checks to vote Republican. Every dirty trick in the book they did, they didn't try it, they did it,
Yeah.
and he's barely won by the skin of his teeth, barely. For me,
You
that's enough proof to know that the fix wasn't in. It was pretty much Elon Musk brought the presidency, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. He bought just enough. You brought up
Yeah,
the special elections, and I, as some people say, I feel some kind of way about those special elections because I'm afraid the special elections give us some hope for changing something and maybe changing the House, which would be a big help. And I
yeah,
hope against hope that they can win the two elections in Florida and the one in New York. That would be nice. Um, when I hear people talking about we can win this, we can win this, I'm getting the same vibes of those people saying, you know, they found some stuff in here and they're going to turn this around and Kamala will be the president. It's just so Trump-la-fuck sounding. And I just want people to understand, in this last election, I've been wrong about Kamala winning. I've been wrong about a few things. And the one common thread of why I've been wrong and where my fatal flaw was, I gave the electorate too much credit. I gave the judicial system too much credit. I
Yeah.
gave politicians too much credit.
Yeah.
And when it comes, like you say, down in Florida, I don't know how these people are feeling. It sounds like an absolute shithole with all that's going on. But do those people in those Republican districts feel it enough to actually make a change? Logically, I would say yes. But you see where logic has gotten me up to this point. So I don't really know. And I don't want to put all my eggs in that basket. First of all, it's expensive. Second of all, I don't want to bet on that because I'm afraid that I'm going to give people false hope again.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with hope. It's just managing the expectations and being realistic when it comes to that. You know what I mean? So, like, my grandmother would always be like, you got to walk by faith, not by sight. So, you have to tell yourself that it's going to be okay. Like, no matter what happens over here, it's going to be okay. And then that will be enough to keep you going. But at the same time, it's managing your expectations to where you said, you know what, I was hoping everything would be okay over here, but I knew that there was a chance that this wasn't going to go right for us. And didn't go right for us. I knew that was a possibility. And then you keep going. But if you put all of your hopes and your dreams that it's going to go okay, then that's when you see people losing it. And that's when you see people really, really struggling mentally, is because they are crushed, they devastated because they just knew that it was going to go one way. And sometimes, especially the way politics is right now, you cannot put all of your eggs in anybody's basket.
No, I mean, the thing about it is that people still give me shit. You said Kamala was going to win. And that's really, I don't usually make predictions, but I predicted that because it seemed like an absolute. It seemed like it made no other sense to go any other way. Uh, I always know whenever I look at a problem, there's all kinds of angles, all different ways it can go, and you try to pick out the best choice to deal with the problem. Um, and I know there's always an option that it's going to go wrong, and I'm a firm believer in saying, okay, if something goes wrong, that's why I say, with this losing the election, I'm over that. I'm over that. And then when they say the problems are going to happen, it's the anticipation that fucks people's heads up. That's the thing that upsets them the most. But once it's happened, you go, okay, here it is in front of me. It's right here in front of me. Now I got to deal with it. So it takes some of that pressure off, that anticipation, that uncertainty. And that's how you got to look at it. Whatever happens, happens. Now you got to deal with what you got here in front of you.
Yeah, I think that the problem is, and it shouldn't be a problem, but it is a problem, is that people try to look at this from a rational point of view. They try to look at it from like a common sense angle. You know what I mean? When you see Kamala Harris laying out a plan, like a detailed plan to where we are going to make all of these people who are buying up all of these properties, they're going to have to start selling these off to single family homes, starter homes. So we can't have a bunch of hedge funds coming in here buying up all of these properties and hanging on to them. I got a 10-year plan. They're going to have to sell those properties off. And then I have money over here to where we're going to build affordable housing. Not only that, but we want to keep seniors in their homes. We're going to, make sure that we have their Medicare and their Medicaid covering their in-home health care that they have. We got this over here that's going to go towards $50,000 for buying your first home. And we're going to get the money from here, 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 and here, right? So you say, oh, okay, yeah. And then you have Donald Trump standing on stage, we got to bring the prices down. We got to make it more affordable. You know what? I'm going to bring prices down. And the way that I'm going to do it is I just got to make it happen. So I'm just going to make it happen. Yep, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure it happens. That was his plan. He literally had a concept of a plan on everything. And so logically, you will say, okay, he can't win. Logically, you would say, look what he did his first term. Logically, you would say, what Hispanic person, Puerto Rican person, Black person will vote for somebody who is sitting here saying, you come from S-hole countries, you are poisoning the blood of this country. I'm going to round them up and have bloody deportations because they're bringing their rapists and their criminals over here. Logically, you would ask yourself, what Hispanic person you don't go vote for this food, right? That's logic. That makes sense that they are not going to vote for him. That totally makes sense. They overturned Roe v. Wade, and he bragging about it. He's sitting here telling women that we are killing our babies after we give birth to them, that the doctors are putting them on a table in the operating room and letting the baby starve themselves to death. And what woman is going to vote for somebody who is up here telling them kind of lies? And then you turn around and women are voting for this food. So I think that we approach it from a logical place, and that is our downfall. We cannot think logically when you're talking to a bunch of crazy fools. They don't see, hear, none of that. That doesn't happen. And I think that we spent too much time talking to those people. And what we should have been doing is getting people up off of the couch and getting them out to vote. I think that was a huge part of the problem. In addition to that, this was a Black woman in America. That was the second problem. I think that every Black woman in this country, when they first announced Kamala, was like, we're going to have to roll with it because logically, she's the only person that got money, that got access to that money. So we got to make up ground. That's a logical explanation. That's a logical choice. And then a lot of us was like, wait a minute, y'all not supposed to just pass us over and put in Gavin Newsom or whoever. We're not supposed to play that game. But I do think that the very first reaction when they said, when Biden endorsed Kamala Harris, I don't know a Black woman on this earth that I know of that was like, oh, yeah, we got this. Nope. Our first reaction was like, yep, this ain't supposed to happen. But you have to tell yourself that so you can keep pushing. It's possible. We could do it. Even though you know better, you still have to tell yourself something to make you keep going. And that's the exact same thing that MAGA does right now when it comes to Donald Trump. Anytime you point out something to them, they have to tell themselves something different so that they can keep going. Because they spent the last 8-10 years following behind this man, believing in this man. They can't keep going if they don't tell themselves whatever it is to tell themselves to keep going. They have to do that. Just like we had to do that when it comes to Kamala's. We had to. Otherwise, we would have just fell apart. You tell yourself whatever and you keep pushing. And I think that looking at it from a logical standpoint, that's not smart because these people are not logical and they don't care.
Yeah. Well, it kind of goes back to what I said. I mean, if you use logic with the Trump-lafucks, you're going to fail. I've learned that lesson. Just as if you're going to try to fight fairly with the Trump-lafucks, you're going to lose.
Yeah,
we've got to learn that lesson and be tougher with them. Get in their face like Jasmine Crockett. Like I told Kristen yesterday, there's a lot of people who do what I do on TikTok and they get death threats and they get all that kind of shit. I don't get that shit because I'm more in your face. I'm not going to take your shit. I'm going to take you to task. And that's what these simple-minded fucks understand.
Yeah.
You can't say, I'll take you to court or I'll embarrass you. You have to go to the point where I'll put my foot in your ass. I'll kick your ass if you don't shut up. That's the only thing they understand. And it's unfortunate. It's not appropriate. It's not sophisticated, but we're dealing with some unsophisticated motherfuckers.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not like it's one kind of crazy, right? You have people that are just, they know better, but their racism is going to override any decision that they make. There's other people who know better, but their sexism is going to override anything that they do. And it's other people who are just ignorant. There's other people who are just stupid. There's other people who are ill-informed. And then you got other people that's in a cult. There's never going to be one message that reaches all of that crazy. It's just not going to happen. So it's kind of like, these are people that we just can't talk to. And I don't want to waste my time with those people. I think it's more important to get the people who set out or the independent voters that switched over to Trump. Those people, cool. But when it comes to hardcore MAGA Republicans, get out of my face. I'm not talking to you. This is not a conversation for you. Why are you in the comment section? I have nothing to say to you. You have nothing to say to me. fuck out of here, right? But those people, I think too many people waste their time with them. And I don't think they're worth our time or our effort. They're not worth it. You're not getting
No,
anywhere with them.
yeah, and I think you're right about that. I was talking to somebody about that. Maybe I did a TikTok about Donald Trump kicking out the the people in the press and only bringing in the people he likes, right?
He's so
And
transparent.
yeah, he's so transparent. But I suggested, and this would go along with Trump-fucks too. They are attention whores. They thrive on attention. If
Yeah.
I'm in the mainstream media and I'm not owned by some oligarch motherfucker, I would say if you don't let AP in, none of us are coming in. The entire legitimate media doesn't come in, doesn't pay
Yeah.
attention to Donald Trump. It's like that old saying: if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a noise? If no one
Mm-hmm.
pays attention to Donald Trump, does he exist? Well, really not, because that's all he does is attract attention. He has no substance. But my point is, if you pull back and you didn't cover him, people say, well, we got to know what the president's doing. No, we don't, because we can cover Elon Musk. He's the only one making fucking decisions. We can cover the Congress. Just ignore Donald Trump. Don't give him anything he wants. Don't give him that oxygen that he so desperately needs. If we can make Donald Trump inconsequential or not important, that's going to have the most effect on him. You know, he's going to fight this thing about Elon's and him, going head to head. They're pushing real hard because they both have something the other one needs. But when Donald Trump seems to be marginalized or inconsequential, that's when he freaks out. Like with Macron, he seemed to think he was being made to look like a fool, and he was, and that fucked with him. So we got to
Mm-hmm.
take notice of that and find ways to make him feel small or unimportant.
Not only that, but Elon Musk too. He's just as big of an attention whore as Donald Trump is.
Absolutely.
Um, he likes to stand up there, and I think that there's kind of like a part of him that gets off on. If you look in the cabinet meeting, everyone else is like sitting down. Elon Musk is standing up. He's like over everybody else, and he is like talking, and he's like feeding off of that. And I don't even say like we sit there and interview Musk and give him a platform to say whatever. A, why would we? Because they're not going to do anything but lie anyway. And B, you need to starve them of that attention. It's like starving us of oxygen. That is like attention to them. He needs that. Donald Trump needs that, and they feed off of that. And as soon as Musk and or Trump start to try to do weird, crazy stuff to get their names out there, to get the headlines, that's where the biggest mistakes are going to come from. That's where the biggest slip is going to come from them when they start snitching on themselves, is when we deny them that space of attention that they seek so much. Like, we shouldn't just be giving it to them, I don't think.
I agree. The funny thing about Elon Musk, in the Oval Office meeting, he's standing up over Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump's hunched over the desk. Elon Musk is standing up in that cabinet meeting. And it's pretty well known that many of those cabinet members aren't fans of Elon Musk. And the reason why, because they all got big fucking egos, and
Yeah.
Elon Musk is overriding all those motherfuckers, and they hate that. And Donald
Yeah.
Trump was trying to prove that everything's cohesive, and it didn't give that impression at all. I love how Elon tries to be funny. Motherfucker's not funny. He doesn't know
No.
how to tell a joke. He isn't clever. He isn't good with quips. But those people just were kowtowing to Donald Trump and tolerating Elon, but they hate that motherfucker too.
Yeah. None of them likes Donald Trump. None of them likes Elon Musk. None of them like each other.
Yeah.
They just put on this pretend show, whatever it is. I think the thing that Donald Trump likes the most out of this is all the bootlicking that he can make the religious people do for him. Like when they all get around him and they're all praying for him and stuff like that. I think that's like, to him, that's like better than sex, honestly. And because he's sitting here like, these people really is treating me like I'm some kind of god, like I think Donald Trump really likes when they pray over him, which is weird. But he don't like religious people. They don't like him, but they need to make a show of it. And that's all it
Yeah.
is to people. Like Donald Trump pretends to be president. Elon Musk pretends to be Tony Stark. All of these like evangelicals, they pretend to be religious. Mike Johnson pretends to be religious, like they care about it. It's like one big, I don't know, stage production or something. And like, I like plays, but this play right here is like, it's just, I don't know, it'll get to you more than anything else. But it's just all pretend to them. None of this is real to them. They're just trying to line their pockets and get rich at our expense. That's it. And we have to let the diehards see that. And the only way they see that is if they feel it. They don't care until it comes to their door. They don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you've got states, governors of different states saying, oh, we love what you do. We support you. But could you just cut out a niche for potash or something that's important to us? Because that's really hurting us. And I think, honestly, these people were dumb enough to think that when all this draconian shit, this pain would happen. And as you said, they love seeing other people with pain. They thought they would be saved from that pain, that Donald Trump wouldn't inflict it on them. And now that it's happening, they're going, oh, Donnie, you made a mistake. You must have missed this one. Gee, just turn that back on, would you? And that's the attitude. But they're going to find out very quickly that that's not going to happen. He doesn't care.
My favorite, and I know how bad this is, but my favorite is, well, you can't take the immigrants from my farm because my immigrants, they're hardworking, they're good people. Like
Yeah.
every single farmer in every single state, every single construction company in every single state, they all say that my immigrants, they're hardworking, they're family people, they are not bad people. They all of them say that. And it's just
Yeah.
kind of like there is no way that these people work around immigrants every day, day in and day out, and think that it's a whole bunch of bad immigrants running around in everybody else's state and town. They know better than that. They were just being racist, pretty much. And it's just like you would bankrupt your family farm. You would bankrupt your own business just to be racist. That
You know
feels
where
my
the problem with Republicans or Trump-fucks or any of these people, they don't understand a narcissistic personality. Because as I've said before, they'll say and do anything to get what they want from you. But once they've gotten what they want from you and there's nothing more to get, you're not important to them. They don't care what you think. They don't care if you're mad at them. And that's where these people are. You know, the farmers and all these other folks are thinking Donald Trump's going to save them. He's not. There's no money in it for him to save them. Maybe he'll send them some free hats or a gold fucking card at half rate. But the Republicans have really put themselves in a bad spot. They put all their eggs in Donald Trump's basket. And Donald Trump doesn't need them anymore. He doesn't need to get elected again. He doesn't need them to grift money. He's got the bully pulpit to grift the money. There's nothing that anybody he needs anything from. So they're fucked. And they're going to get stepped on. And they're going to say, oh, please, Donald, we're the good guys. We voted for you. He don't care. He didn't care at all. They're going to get crushed. And it's a hard way to learn a lesson, but hopefully they do.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to Republicans, the ones that's at the middle and the top of the food chain, they know who Donald Trump is. They knew who he was the whole time. It's just those ones at the bottom. And I
Yeah.
think the ones in the middle and at the top, they spread these lies and misinformation because it was easier for them to do that so that they could take advantage of the little guy. And it was the people at the bottom who just didn't know that. You can't tell me if somebody owns a construction company that they don't know how important immigrants are, or somebody who
Right.
owns a farm, they don't know how important immigrants are. I think that a lot of these people, especially after like talking to some farmers, they really did look at it as if you get like the extra immigrants out, the immigrants that are here right now will be like more desperate, and we can pay them less than what we're paying them right now. Like we
Right.
could put a target over their back, or you could even just like, these people know that nobody else is going to hire them. These people know that there's nowhere else that they can go. So we can pay them whatever, we can treat them however, we don't have to pay them for time off or any of that stuff. And they know the way to keep these people complacent and keep them in line and keep them from moving to another farm that maybe can pay them better or whatever, in order to keep them in a position that you currently have them in. Donald Trump has to be in power. And I don't
Yeah.
think that they thought for a second that, yeah, Donald Trump, he has these horrible policies, but he's not going to really crash the economy. And if he does try to, the Republican Party will stop him. So it's like they knew the whole time. And I think they overestimated the backbone that the Republicans would have. I think they thought their backup plan would be Congress, keeping him from doing some of the stuff that he's currently doing. They knew, but it's like they rolled the dice thinking that this man would be held accountable in any type of capacity. And I think that's what's shocking to them more than
Yeah, I
anything
do
else.
too. Yeah, big surprise. The Republicans have no spine, and they continue to let him do whatever he wants to do. And the funny thing about it is, they can sit in Congress and they can talk to people, and they can ask simple questions. Did Russia invade Ukraine?
Oh God,
And
yeah.
these people will step on their dicks to not answer that. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
so silly. It's
Yeah.
so weak when I watch them do this. But there's going to come a time when Donald Trump is no longer, and they're going to have to stand for themselves, and they're going to have a difficult time with that. Donald Trump, you're seeing all these things about his cognitivity and his physical health.
Yeah.
I still don't believe he makes it through the next 2 years, one way or another, either mentally or physically. Something's going to happen. And I wonder how everything changes when he's gone, because he really is the pivot point for everything. Once he's done, does that just change the whole vibe of the Republican Party? I don't mean better, just different.
I don't know what they gonna do at that point. I think like growing up in church, one thing I learned was it was always like the mean, ornery old women that like lived forever. You'd have like Sister Phyllis over here living to be 102, but you got Miss Gloria over here with her sweet self bringing in, muffins and everything for the kids in church, so we won't be hungry for 4 hours. She dropped dead at 80. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that like I'm just used to mean old people just living forever. And I think like my grandmother's be like, the devil don't want them either. And that's just kind of how I look at it. It's like, Donald Trump gonna be here until he ain't here. I don't like plan on him dropping dead or whatever, but it could happen, especially, I don't know if people looked at those logs from his first presidency or his first term and all the medications that were going up out of the White House under the Dr. Jackson or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Ironically, the number one drug that Republican men got was the date rape drug. Do with that what you want. But
Wow.
they got him on something. I don't know what it is that man is on, but he is on some, we call it slow down medication, where you barely lethargic. And I think that's what Trump, he don't know what's going on around him at all. His strings is getting pulled in a million directions. And it's a tape that Putin got of him, and Elon Musk has seen that tape. And that tape, whatever is on it, is enough to keep him in line. Terrence said on Will's live that we did, I was saying it's a poop tape, but Terrence said something better. He said it's an Epstein tape. And I was just like, you know what? That could be true. That could
Oh
be
yeah.
true. That could be
There's
true. And I'm like, the more I thought about that after he said it, I was like, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly, it could be nothing else to keep this man in line, as like Donald Trump is like falling in line. They asked him, does Elon Musk speak for you? And he said, well, everybody speaks for me. When have you ever heard Donald Trump say something that's like that? What
yeah.
could you even imagine him saying something like that? He is completely, I can't say that on a podcast, but
You can. On this
Yeah.
podcast, you could say it. I mean, what could you possibly say that I haven't already said?
I'm from Vegas, and something that like the older women say is
Go
you
ahead.
being screwed more than a $10 whore in a $100 prostitution ring. And I feel like that's what's going on with Trump right now. And I don't think that these are like the only two people that has seen that tape or has knowledge of that tape. I think that it's multiple people. And that's sometimes why you see him all over the place. That's why sometimes he's indecisive because he doesn't know what to say, or whatever he says, it's not going to be appeasing to everybody who, or the few people that's in this inner circle that knows exactly what it is. And so when you hear him say stuff like, everybody tells me, or everybody speaks for me, I think that's true. I think that he understands that Putin speaks for him. He understands that Elon Musk speaks for him. And it's probably, another person or two behind the scenes that speaks for him. So he couldn't say only Elon speak for me when it's two other people that speak for him as well. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think that sometimes there's no right or like there's no way to say something that's going to be appeasing to everybody. And that's pretty much typical when you're in a blackmail situation and more than one person has that blackmail over your head. If you say something to praise one person, it could piss off the other. So you just kind of have to just say whatever to appease everybody and make everybody happy. And I'm not mad at it. If he has to sit there and be miserable and go along with the program of two or three different people, cool. I like seeing you sit there like a little shriveled up shrimp.
My God, old soul, how could you say something like that? I mean, what the fuck were you thinking? What kind of show do you think this is?
Sorry, kids.
Anyway, we're going to wrap things up for the Rational Boomer podcast. We're at that point in time. Thank you for coming back and enlightening us as you often do, always do. So thank you for coming back. And you got a plane to catch, huh?
Yes. And I've been saying this every time I'm like on somebody's live or every time I'm on somebody's show because it's very, very, very important. Hispanic women, you should not have to live like you can't go anywhere by yourself, but try not to. And anybody with an ICE outfit on, ask for ID, ask for a warrant. Don't just go along with what somebody is saying because I didn't even notice till the other day. They are literally selling ICE jackets and gear on Amazon, and people are
Yeah.
buying that, and they're not buying it for anything good. So you have to be careful. And the
Yeah.
last thing I have to say is because nobody is speaking for this child. The other day, a Black teenager, he was 16, and he got shot. And nobody's talking about it because Trump is like, overshadowing everything. But
Right.
somebody was shooting at him, and he was running away from the person that was shooting at him. And when he came around the corner, the police officer shot him and then told him to freeze. But he died on the scene. They wasn't able to save him. And
Wow.
nobody was talking about it because of Trump. So
Yeah.
we still have to be aware that we are minorities in this country and we have to look out for each other and we have to be there for each other. Black and brown boys, especially, and Hispanic women right now, is targets on your back. So everybody be careful and try to surround yourself with good people that will look out for you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, old soul. And those of you listening, thank you for taking the time to do that. Hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.